So, how impossible has it become to find a decent place to live in Africa's most populous nation? Well, here's a hint. Recently, the United Nations warned that Nigeria is under the grip of a housing crisis that's left the country ill-equipped to properly house tens of millions of people. In a nation where most inhabitants live on less than $2 a day and where the government lacks official data to develop an effective housing policy, existing housing programs are hardly making even the smallest dent in addressing the ever-growing housing need. It's resulted in the ballooning of informal settlements and shanty towns where, according to the UN, conditions are inhumane and amongst the most severe in the world. For those who can ill afford to live in the ghettos, there are additional challenges in finding accommodation inside cities like Abuja and Lagos, including sexism, tribalism, and having to put up more than a year's worth of rent in advance. So how much does all this make life even more impossible, especially for young people trying to build a career? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
And you've been quoted as saying that Nigeria has a very big housing problem. That sounds like an understatement, and that fixing it has to be approached in a big way. How have you approached the problem so far?
Well, as you quite well said, that we have a very huge housing deficit. And some say it's 20 million, some even said more. But if you look at it, the growth of the population of the Nigeria, we grow at 2.5% per annum for a population of 220 million. So on the average of 2.5%, you find that every year we have an additional population of 5.5 million. To house that 5.5 million, you need nothing less than 550,000 houses at an average of 10 persons per household. So we are now aiming at how do you house those additional increase that's coming, 550,000 houses. 550,000 houses per annum, even if it's a 10 million naira, is amount to 5.5 trillion. So it's a huge deficit that you have to make a multifaceted approaches. First, is this government, as we are the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government, we started on tripartite approach. We are building the renewed hub cities in 7 locations, one in each geopolitical zone from FCT. We have to also, we took the remaining 30 states, we are building renewed hub estates. And then we also have to go down even to the local government to go for the renewed hub social housing program.
Well, you say you're building. What stage is that building at the
so
moment?
Currently we have at least up to 10,000 houses on ground.
Right.
That we are doing. The renewed hub cities in 3 locations, one in Abuja, 3,112. And we have another one in Lagos, 2,000 houses are ongoing, and 1,500 houses are ongoing in Kano. These are the renewed hub cities. Then another 3,000 at 250 housing units in 12 locations, 2 in each geopolitical zone of the country. We have in Ebonyi, Abia, Lagos, Oyo, Oshun. We have Akwa Ibom and Delta. We have Katsina and Sokoto. We have Yobe and Gombe, and then we have Nasarawa and Benue. These are all 250 housing units that are ongoing, that have reached, most of them are roof level, some are about to be completed and commissioned.
Right. And what kind of, these are basic sort of houses?
These are basic houses, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom houses that are organic, they are expandable. If you can't afford 2 bedroom, pick 1 bedroom, it's expandable to 2 bedroom. If you can't afford 3 bedroom, pick the 2 bedroom, it's expandable to 1 to 3 bedrooms. They are affordable, and they are meant to be subsidized by the government.
Right. Okay, because I was going to ask you about that, because most of the people in this country who actually desperately need housing are below the poverty line.
Yes, that's why we made it in such a way that the high income are the ones going for the renewed hub cities.
Right.
They are terraces, block of flats, duplexes. These are for the cities. and they are basically not funded by government. We collaborated with public-private partnership and a PPP arrangement, and they are building them. But the renewed hope estates are basically funded by the government, and we have taken 12 states, and we're about to have still 18 more states to take, and then ensure that we build those houses.
Right. You said you were going to provide 20,000 housing units annually to fill the gap.
Yes.
But then you were quoted as saying last month that you were going to deliver 500,000 units annually over the next decade. Which is it?
No, that's just a projection to show the magnitude that if you have to overcome the deficit, that means we need 550,000
Well, I mean, you were quoted as saying that you are going to have to provide 500,000.
We are not providing 550,000 houses, but we said the magnitude of housing deficit we are having.
That's what you need.
That's what we meant. Due to the population growth of 2.5% of 220 million, you are going to get 500.
So basically 20,000 units is a drop in the ocean.
It's a drop in the ocean, quite well. But you have to find an approach. The first thing you are doing, renewed hope cities, renewed hope estates, renewed hope social housing. You are also doing slum upgrade. Because sometimes when you do slum upgrade, you are improving the livelihood of those people living in the slums. And sometimes, even if you don't provide them with a better house, you are providing them with a better environment to live in.
Right.
And that one has upgraded their living standards.
Because a lot of those people are jobless.
They are, sure.
So they can't afford any. I mean, they can't meet the criteria for getting a mortgage, for example.
Some of them, they can't get a mortgage. But those who can't get a mortgage, or in that class of slums area, so if you upgrade their environment, by providing roads, drainages, some water, sanitations, electricity, street lightings, and even schools and basic health services that you are providing within that communities. That one will also upgrade it to that level.
And is that a theory, or is that in practice?
No, it's in practice. Currently, within our last 2 years, we have upgraded over 100 slums, fully completed.
Where?
Across all the country. Have done.
Well, let's take Abuja, for example. I mean, there are slums.
There are slums
as you drive to the airport. Yes, there are slums if you're going towards the other way, Nasarawa State.
Some of the slums are living illegally. But the legal slums that you are having are those living in the local governments in Abuja.
Right.
Yes, these are the ones. But if you find a way that these are the slums whereby you have to take them away.
Yes. And what are the plans for giving those people credit facilities, those who are the low-income earners, those who are, there's absolutely no way that they're going to be able to afford a house?
Yes, there is. Currently, the Federal Mortgage Bank is providing loans even to the informal sector. Those in the informal sector and even those who are in the lower cadre of the society. And there are various categories of loan that they are given. First, we have the individual construction loan, whereby if you have a title land, you get a loan to build your house at your own level.
Well, that's obviously for somebody who has a piece of land. Yeah.
And those who don't have a piece of land, they are given loans to purchase a house. And it's given at a single-digit interest rate.
And what qualifies you to get that loan?
What qualifies
you need to have a job?
Well, what's important is you need to have an earning, not necessarily a job. If you have an earning and you are a contributor to the National Housing Fund, then that qualifies you.
Well, that will eliminate a lot of people. I'm sure you know that.
Quite well, quite well.
Yeah.
Yes. But what the government, what we are about to do, which is on the table, is that of social housing.
Right.
Renewed hope social housing.
I think that's the, talk to us about that.
Yes, exactly. So renewed hope social housing is aimed to provide houses, affordable houses, to the lower rank of the society and even to the no income of the society. And the federal government intends to build 77,400 housing units. And this one, we are going to build 100 houses in every 77 local governments, 774 local governments in the country. Once those houses are built, 70% of the houses will be given out to the low-income earners to purchase and pay as owner-occupier. If you're earning, whatever you're earning, so 1/3 of it is what is being deducted, and then the keys will be given to you, 70% of those houses. while the remaining 30% will be given free to Nigerians who doesn't have a job or who doesn't have an earning, like the zero-income Nigerians, the vulnerables, the underprivileged, and even the IDPs. This is the plan of the government and it's underway. The fund is already available under the Renewed Hope Infrastructure Development Fund.
Well, that's a very, very positive thing that you've just mentioned there.
Yes.
I mean, one hopes that it won't end up being like most things in Nigeria. I mean, you'll tell us about it and then we won't see it materialize. But if it does materialize, I think that's a very, very positive thing that your government is doing. When can we hope to see them materialize?
We hope to see it before end of this quarter of 2025.
Right. Before the end of the second quarter.
This second quarter we are in. Before the end of
Well, you must come and talk to us again.
Because the design has been done, the costing has been done,
Yeah.
we are discussing, and the president is about to give that approval for the project takeoff.
Right. Yeah. Now, I read somewhere that you said that for you to properly, and I have to say that if a lot of the things you say you're doing, you're actually doing them, I mean, that's very commendable.
Yeah, thank you.
But you said that you were going to need something like $6 billion annually to be able to meet the
housing deficit?
Yeah, the housing deficit. Yeah. Well, according to the experts, I mean, you were talking about 500,000. They said you need something like 700,000 housing units to be built annually over the next 2 decades to bridge the gap, taking into account the population growth that you were talking about. You're obviously not going to be able to do that.
Yeah. Even if you haven't achieved that, but you substantially made an effort to ensure that you have reduced that deficit. You have to make a dent to that deficit, ensuring that first you are also providing the renewal of cities, you are doing renewal of estate, you are doing the social housing, and you are doing slum upgrade. And even that slum upgrade is another intervention to which when you do it, you'll find that you are getting a lot of Nigerians, especially the lower income, out of that slum.
Right.
Once you get out of slum, at least it has improved your environment, and it even affects your livelihood.
So this is part of a national housing plan. It's not sort of an ad hoc thing that you sort of wake up in the morning and think, okay, I'll do something about that slum.
No. This government has its own renewal of housing. It has a national housing plan under the renewal of city. By 2023, FMDQ was commissioned to provide us with a document, National Housing Strategy. That National Housing Strategy came with a lot of data and it's with a lot of solutions. And these are the solutions we are now implementing to ensure that we achieve that reduction in the deficit that we're having, to ensure that Nigerians have a decent living condition to live and also have affordable housing for the lower income of Nigerians. To do that, you have to cater for all cadres of all categories of Nigerians, not only the lower or the medium or including even the high income Nigerians.
Well, I mean, this is an astronomical amount of money. I mean, how are you getting that money?
Well, apart from the budgetary allocation that we're having, we're also encouraging PPP,
right,
public-private partnerships, to ensure that even the public partnerships come on board. And you know, when public-private comes with their funding, they want to make profit and ensure that they achieve certain return on investments. So what we are doing with all our PPPs is to ensure that there is a cross-subsidy in every aspect of PPP arrangement we are doing. If you are building any number of houses, we ensure that a certain percentage of those houses are cross-subsidized so that even the lower income could be able to purchase it. Right.
So that public-private partnership is already underway. It's not a plan, because I was going to ask you what sort of incentives are you offering to attract investments, and what regulatory clarity are you providing so there are no bottlenecks and nothing murky about the process?
Yes. Currently, we have, among the 10,000 houses we are doing, 6,000 of them are through that public-private partnerships. to which we ensure that in some of them we provide land, access to land. We ensure that there is an access to land to them. We ensure that there is access to credit facilities for them to do, especially affordable credit for them to ensure that they build affordable houses for Nigerians. And many of the bottlenecks that we are having under the PPP on other aspects of the infrastructure are being removed when it comes to housing delivery, because housing, it involves the common man. It involves also going into the nitty-gritty of ensuring that you have to remove many of the bottlenecks that you are having, especially when it comes to road construction. Road construction, you find that you recoup your money investment maybe over a period of 10 years through toll gate or through other means. But in housing, once you build it, give them 2-3 years, the houses are sold. So there is a quick return on investment, and that's what we always tell the investors. When it comes to housing, we'll create the enabling environment for you, and then you recoup your investment.
And that has worked,
yes,
to some extent.
It has worked.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned land. There are a lot of people who may be able to scrape together their own money,
Yes.
but access to land is a big problem in Nigeria.
Sure.
I understand you've talked about improving access to land, something about national land titling or documentation and registration program.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
What we realize is that the problem with most of the housing deficit that we are having and the problem of wealth creation is due to the land and title. Access to land has become very difficult and cumbersome for many of Nigerians. And to the extent that only 4% of the entire land in the country is titled. And without title, with title land, you'll find that you have, once you have a title land, you will have access to credit. You will have access to many advantages to you. But untitled land, you'll find that you'll not be able to access any credit. And you're owning a land that is not yours. Because at the end of the day, you find that even though you didn't steal that land, but it's not yours entirely because it's not documented, it's not titled. So that's why we have to ensure that we streamline and ease access to land. And easing access to land, you'll find that you are unlocking a lot of capital, because currently we have a debt capital over $300 billion that is debt. 94% of all the land in the country is untitled. So imagine a program that will come and unlock that titling and make it easier. Many Nigerians will have access to credit. They use their land, either their farmland or their asset. It becomes an asset to which it will be used to create businesses. You can approach a bank, raise funding, and do your businesses. You can approach a bank, get funding, build your houses, and then later you offset it. So that's why we are now ensuring that among the program of this administration is to ensure that we create this national land titling and documentation program, and which is ongoing and is about to be launched soon. We are collaborating with even the World Bank to ensure that all other state governors are brought on the table to ensure that we access, we streamline and then get it to order into the national land titling and documentation program.
It sounds very impressive.
Yes.
I mean, you're not new at this, are you? I mean, you've been a minister for like 20 months or so.
Sure.
But I mean, you were heading the mortgage bank and things like that, and you're an architect, so you do know a thing or two. I mean, tell us a bit about your sort of background.
Well, I have been a practicing architect for almost 30 years before I became the MD of Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. And when I came to become the MD of Federal Mortgage Bank, we did a lot of works to ensure that we improve contributions into the National Housing Fund. You only improve into the contribution to the National Housing Fund if you provide access to credit, access to mortgage, and you make it easier for Nigerians. So we did a lot of other innovations to ensure that we do that. We created the home renovation loans whereby Nigerians of the lower cadre can get a loan to renovate their house. We did individual construction loan that was not even there in the bank They are also doing that individual construction land with title land. The informal sector, we found that there are a chunk of them that are lying non-contributory into the fund. Bringing them forward, we created cooperative housing loans, whereby cooperative society, they'll be encouraged to form into cooperatives. That cooperative, they can come with their title land designs and the cost of building that suit the cooperative members. The bank will give them credit to build their own estates and then create either a rent-to-own or mortgage for those categories of people. Before I left the bank, we have over 100 cooperative societies that have accessed those loans. And a lot of other credit were created to ensure that Nigerians have access to that loans.
Well, that's very interesting.
Later, I became a Minister of Housing and Urban Development.
Yes. So you went into the right area, actually.
Sure.
Just very quickly before we let you go, I'm sure you probably know that there are serious concerns here in Nigeria about the likely effects of President Trump's tariff policies on the housing market here, especially for those who import building materials from the US and other sort of affected countries. I mean, there are fears that the reciprocal tariff policy could drive up construction costs, which could exacerbate supply shortages. I mean, what do you say to those who have such concerns?
Well, the concern, we're already ahead of that concerns, because through our own policy, we intend to have building material manufacturing hubs. We intend to have one hub in each geopolitical zone of the country. It's a hub whereby all the other building companies will be manufactured in those locations. We have already set up the designs. We're discussing with investors who are coming to set up. At least if you have out of the 6, we can have 3. One down south, one down north, one at the center. So the sum of the building materials that are being imported can be manufactured locally and ensure that they are in free trade zones, they are manufactured locally, and that reduces cost of importation, and also it also increases employment generation to our nationals. So this one we are already ahead of that, and we are thinking towards establishing that. It has gone very far currently.
Well, it all sounds very impressive, and we'll obviously be tracking you as things go on. But thank you very much indeed for coming in to talk to us about it. Architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa is the Minister of Housing and Urban Development. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.